What makes two characters click? Is it the jokes or even the screen time? Turns out, it's something that we can feel even before the characters can name it. Mike and Sully showed us through their fights, while Kronk and Yzma convinced us that though they were different personalities, they can still create the most legendary chemistry. But when the Emoji Movie tried to do the same thing with High Five and Gene, it ended up as noise. So what's the secret behind that spark between two characters? And why do so many stories get it wrong? Here's something most people don't know about movies. Emotional stakes are stronger when there's a well-written character chemistry. But what is this really? Character chemistry is that invisible electric spark between two characters, that unique, special vibe you get when they clash, fight, or even fall in love. It's the essential proof that they not only belong in the same movie, but that they absolutely need to be stuck in the same room. And the first and most vital ingredient of writing this is through friction. For example, conflict and tension. The common mistake is to think chemistry means two characters must instantly like each other, when in reality, a spark requires resistance, which is perfectly illustrated by the origin story of Mike Wazowski and James Sullivan in Monsters University. Mike is the ultimate underdog, driven by knowledge and hard work. Sully, on the other hand, is the entitled jock, relying solely on his famous name and natural, effortless roar. He views Mike's studious nature as beneath him.
Yeah, there we go. That'll get it.
Mike was the first to show his hatred for Sully, who was acting like he didn't care about anyone or anything. However, the more Mike kicks Sully's butt academically, the more we see that Sully is envious and not a big fan of the little guy. This rivalry escalates until their argument during the final exam causes them to destroy a legendary scare canister, earning them both immediate expulsion from the scaring program by Dean Hardscrabble. From then on, Sully no longer hides his hatred for Mike. However, this shared humiliation was the foundation of their eventual bond. Desperate to prove himself to Hardscrabble and win his way back into the scaring program, Mike signs up for the only fraternity that would take him, the utterly unscary Yzma Kappa. Sully, equally desperate and seeing no other path back, reluctantly joins, cementing their forced partnership. This rivalry immediately becomes an internal friction within the team. They are forced to share a tiny room in the comically domestic Yzma Kappa house. In the first challenge, the Toxicity Challenge, their constant fighting and lack of coordination nearly cost the team everything, only surviving by sheer unlikely luck. This near failure is crucial because it hammers home the core lesson of great chemistry. Struggle bonds people faster and far deeper than any victory ever could. To deepen their chemistry, the writers ensured they repeatedly failed together and faced the consequences of their clashing personalities. In the Library Challenge, Sully's impatience nearly gets the entire team expelled.
Faster, slow, and steady.
It is only the resourcefulness of the rest of the team members that saves him and allows Squishy to steal the flag. This failure of Sully's arrogance forces him to begin acknowledging Mike's strategic mind, even if he still doubts Mike's roar. Mike, in turn, is forced to recognize that his dismissed teammates have genuine, if unconventional, strengths. The chemistry begins to transition from pure friction to a grudging respect, built on surviving each other's flaws. But this is where things get crazy. When Yzma Kappa is publicly humiliated at the mixer, Mike leads the entire team on a dangerous, illegal night trip to the Monsters, Inc. scare floor. He shows Sully the sheer magic of the job and points out that the best scarers are diverse and strange. This shared moment of wonder and risk is the first genuine, positive moment they have. Mike's infectious idealism begins to teach Sully humility and respect for the passion that drives the job. Sully, in return, grants Mike the validation he desperately craves. They finally start to see each other clearly, recognizing something in the other that no one else does. Sully sees Mike's genuine heart. Mike sees that behind the effortless roar. Sully shares his unshakable dream of becoming a scarer. Over the next few scenes, the two continue to build on this chemistry, leading to this great moment.
Just go out there and show him what Mike Wazowski can do.
Okay, that wasn't the moment we all wanted because something had happened before this that Mike and the audience weren't aware of. You see, Hardscrabble had told Sully that she believes Mike is not scary enough. Sully, unable to deny it, betrays Mike by rigging the final challenge. When Mike discovers the truth, the betrayal shatters their fragile, newfound bond. Their biggest fight erupts, and Sully confesses the painful truth that he doesn't believe Mike has what it takes.
What was I supposed to do? Let the whole team fail because you don't have it?
A heartbroken Mike, fueled by anger, storms off and breaks into the Door Lab, entering the human world alone in a final catastrophic attempt to prove his worth. This leads to the ultimate test of their friction-forged chemistry. Hardscrabble, furious, commands that the door be shut down, but Sully, having confessed to his cheating and been expelled, realizes he cannot let his friend be stranded. He makes the selfless choice to follow Mike, entering the dangerous human world, an act of friendship that completely contradicts his previously selfish nature. When he finds Mike at the lake, Sully finally cracks, confessing that he is also a fraud, terrified of disappointing everyone. Mike, listening to the famous jock admit he is terrified, finally understands the man behind the monster. Following this, they combine their respective skills, Mike's encyclopedic knowledge of scare tactics and Sully's natural terrifying presence to pull off the impossible, a monster-sized scream that overloads the power grid and gets them home. The change is absolute and undeniable. They are expelled. Their dreams of being university-trained scarers are dead, but they leave the campus as friends. They start at the very bottom of Monsters, Inc., in the mailroom, working their way up to the top scare team. Their bond, which began in competitive hatred and was forged in shared failure and mutual change, becomes the unshakable foundation for the events of Monsters, Inc. If they had walked away unchanged, there would have been no chemistry. But because their friction caused them to crack, rebuild, and mutually elevate each other, their friendship became one of the greatest bonds in animation history. So, you see why the bond between Raya and Namari at the end of Raya and the Last Dragon was a bust? Their relationship begins with strong emotional friction, with both characters mirroring each other's ambition and fear. They both want the Dragon Gem's power, but for different reasons. Raya is trying to unite the world, while Namari cares only about her homeland, Fang. This sets up the perfect ground for chemistry through tension, yet the story never lets it mature. For chemistry to land, tension must evolve into understanding that is earned. Conflict should lead to genuine growth seen through shared failures and personal sacrifices, like we saw with Mike and Sully. Whereas Raya and Namari spend almost the entire film fighting, only to become besties out of nowhere. Where Mike and Sully made sacrifices to earn the other's trust, Namari betrayed and antagonized Raya throughout the movie. Yet, Raya chose to entrust the destiny of the whole world to her, leading to this cringy scene. The film wants the emotional weight of forgiveness without showing the slow work it takes to rebuild it. Tension creates the spark, and only earned change makes it real. But this is just one way of writing chemistry. The second ingredient is a little trickier, which is why a lot of writers avoid it. However, those who dare to use it the right way create something epic. Chemistry doesn't always have to start in conflict. Sometimes the spark comes from pairing two characters who are on the same team from the start, but whose motivations and personalities are so laughably different that they create a beautiful chaotic energy. This is the art of tonal contrast, and the perfect example is the legendary villain duo Yzma and Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. The The entire comedic engine of their scenes is built on the hilarious dissonance between their personalities, and crucially, their purpose. As Kuzco himself narrates, Yzma is the Emperor's advisor, a living proof that dinosaurs once roamed the Earth. She's fueled by angry, furious ambition and a malicious, single-minded focus on power. She cares so little for humanity that she sneers at a peasant asking for food.
Ha! You really should have thought of that before you became peasants.
Her energy is always high stakes, theatrical, and evil. Kronk, however, is the complete adorable opposite. He's chill, clueless, and kind-hearted. A helpful giant who, despite carrying out evil deeds, is somehow never actually in on the fact that he's a villain. His true purpose in life is cooking, communicating with woodland creatures, and being a good friend. Dude has no business with overthrowing empires. This tonal clash is immediate and constant. When Kuzco fires Yzma, her entire world is focused on revenge. Then, Kronk accidentally gives her the idea of killing Kuzco and ruling the empire.
Well, it's better you're taking that ranker in these things instead of the real Cusco, huh?
That's it, Kronk. That's it.
It's accidental, but this is the dynamic of their chemistry. No matter how opposite they are, they still complement each other perfectly and in a comedic way. This contrast continues in the dinner scene when Yzma demands to know if everything is ready for the night's big murder. But Kronk, oblivious, interprets the demand through his own kind filter.
Oh yeah, I thought we'd start off with soup and a light salad, and then see how we feel after that.
Not the dinner.
When she clarifies she means the poison for Kuzco, Kronk is still just focused on the culinary tragedy the murder will cause. During the actual poisoning attempt, as Yzma frantically tries to propose the toast, Kronk is distracted by the smell of his own cooking. But this is what is really amazing about these two. Their core difference ensures they are constantly failing together. Their failure to kill the Emperor leads to the next massive but necessary disaster. After Kuzco is revealed to be a llama, Yzma is horrified, but Kronk is simply confused, and his explanation for the mistake is a marvel of banal observation.
You know, in my defense, your poisons all look alike. You might think about relabeling some of them.
He's a helpful employee critiquing a poor labeling system instead of an accomplice to murder. This is the moment they are forced into shared struggle, their partnership moving from plotting to a desperate road trip. Even on the run, their contrast defines the scene. Yzma is straining, complaining about her best shoes, and hating the jungle, while Kronk is loving it. This constant tonal clashing forces both characters to see each other clearly. When Yzma is confronted with a talking squirrel, she has to rely on Kronk's absurd, unexpected skill, being a junior chipmunk versed in the woodland creatures. Yzma needs Kronk's niche, kind-hearted knowledge and his physical strength to survive and continue her quest. And Kronk finds that his strange passions, his cooking and his domesticity, are valuable assets when paired with Yzma's high energy and dramatic needs. And that's it right there. Chemistry lands when one character recognizes something in the other one that no one else does. Yzma may be using Kronk, but she recognizes and utilizes his unique skill set better than anyone else in the film. While Yzma pushed Kronk to step out from under her shadow to pursue his true non-villainous passions, like cooking and becoming a scout leader. Their tonal contrast was the perfect friction to fuel their journey, proving that pairing the right ambition with the right cluelessness is the secret to an unforgettable character dynamic. The Emoji Movie tried to do this with Gene and High Five, but failed miserably. Their tonal contrast failed to create chemistry in the Emoji Movie because their vast differences never became essential to one another's survival, which caused their dynamic to be narrative noise. Their friction was static and repetitive. Gene's emotional conflict and High Five's shallow optimism were only used as annoying impediments. High Five's enthusiasm relentlessly overrode Gene's anxiety with unhelpful surface-level suggestions, making their scenes feel loud and frustrating. Crucially, they lacked mutually essential skills. High Five's high-fiving was irrelevant, and Gene's unique emotions were treated as a flaw to be fixed, rather than a strength to be relied upon. And then again, the Emoji Movie lacked a lot of things, so we'll just move on to the third ingredient of writing character chemistry. If friction and tonal contrast form chemistry through conflict and comedy, then mentorship is the ingredient that forges chemistry through teaching and transformation. But the trick is that both characters must still change. The student grows by learning, and the mentor grows by letting go. This type of chemistry is built on trust that isn't given at first, on lessons that don't come easy, and on two people who begin on opposite ends of a shared pain. When it lands, it becomes one of the deepest forms of connection in storytelling because it's built on earned wisdom. You can't rush this kind of chemistry, and you certainly can't skip the immense struggle that comes with it. Look at Uncle Iroh and Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They don't start as a warm family. Zuko is angry, wounded, and consumed by a need to prove himself. Iroh, on the other hand, seems like the lazy uncle tagging along for tea and naps. But every choice he makes is meant to guide Zuko toward balance rather than victory. At first, Zuko sees Iroh's kindness as a weakness. He believes strength comes from anger and that honor can only be reclaimed through conquest, aka catching the Avatar. Yet Iroh never scolds him for that belief. He lets him stumble into the truth. When Zuko loses battle after battle, Iroh is there, sometimes to save him and other times just to talk. Their chemistry grows because Iroh understands something that Zuko doesn't. Pain is an incubator of growth. The heart of their dynamic is patience meeting pride. When Zuko lashes out, Iroh stays calm. When Zuko storms off, Iroh lets him. When Zuko returns, ashamed and tired, Iroh embraces him without words. But Iroh doesn't fail to scold him when necessary. He knows when to be soft and when to use tough love.
And then what? You never think these things through.
That emotional rhythm becomes their language. But there's something that most people miss. Iroh isn't exactly perfect, despite all the wisdom he bestowed on not just Zuko, but the audience. He is flawed because he was sometimes too soft on Zuko and gave him too many opportunities to change his ways. And this makes a lot of sense because no matter how wise Uncle Iroh was, he is still human. Because chemistry in mentorship often lives in what's left unsaid. It made perfect sense when Iroh eventually let Zuko go, or rather gave him space so that he could find his way himself. And what do you know, that was when Zuko finally began to embrace change. The moment Zuko finally admits that his father's approval will never heal him, Iroh doesn't say, "I told you so," but
I was never angry with you. I was sad because I was afraid you lost your way.
That's chemistry at its purest. Their dynamic is the most emotional kind because it's forged through years of rejection, endurance, betrayal, and eventual forgiveness. It represents the pinnacle of mentorship chemistry, where the student chooses the mentor's path because they finally realize it is the right one, especially when they have felt it all along. But here's what's crazy. Mentorship chemistry can happen in the opposite direction. That is, the mentor may start by not accepting who the student is. In fact, they would initially hate the student's guts. This is where Po and Shifu from Kung Fu Panda come in. Their chemistry is the reverse of Iroh and Zuko's, but it still works. Shifu starts as the rigid master, obsessed with control, while Po is chaos in motion. Where Zuko rejected guidance, Po worships it. He idolizes Kung Fu and dreams of mastery. But Shifu believes Po is a mistake.
Flabby Panda can't possibly be the answer to our problem.
You were about to point at Tigress and...
Their tension comes from this disbelief. Shifu cannot believe that this clumsy panda could ever be the Dragon Warrior, and Po cannot believe that his hero despises him. That disbelief is the soil where their chemistry grows. The trick in writing chemistry like theirs is to let frustration evolve into fascination. The mentor must first fail at teaching the way they always have. Indeed, Shifu tries to train Po with the same methods that worked for Tigress, Monkey, and the others. He does this to try and break Po down and force him to quit, attempting to eliminate the problem by making the training miserable. This initial friction is crucial because it establishes Shifu's core flaw, his inability to adapt his rigid worldview and his fear of another student's failure after Tai Lung. And as expected, Po can't handle it.
How did I do? There is now a level 0.
But when Shifu sees the length Po goes just to get some dumplings, something shifts. He realizes Po's strength comes from the right motivation. So Shifu learns to meet Po where he lives, through food, fun, and play. The moment Shifu trains Po by turning snacks into motivation, the mentorship begins to breathe. That is the heartbeat of their chemistry, teaching through transformation. The lesson here is that Shifu must shed his rigid expectations and see Po clearly, recognizing that the panda's apparent flaw is actually his greatest, most unique strength. Po, for his part, gains a mentor who finally sees him as the one-of-a-kind Dragon Warrior. This shared, joyful recognition is what solidifies their connection and turns Shifu into a surrogate father figure. So basically, their chemistry is about shared growth. Therefore, when you write chemistry through mentorship, focus on how much they understand each other by the end. If they walk away unchanged, there was never chemistry at all. But the last ingredient of writing character chemistry is a lot different from the first 3 because it usually comes with an unexpected twist. This one is something we like to call chemistry through recognition, and it has a different dynamic than what we've been used to. Where others usually feature 2 opposites attracting, this one is about 2 characters who are initially positioned as rivals, such as the charming villain and the virtuous authority, but only to reveal they are actually reflections of each other, walking 2 different paths toward the same internal truth. This is the magnetic force that defines the relationship between Mr. Wolf and Governor Diane Foxington in The Bad Guys. To write this form of chemistry, you must first establish a polar opposite. Wolf is the smooth, cool-headed leader of notorious thieves, the master criminal who defies the law with style. Diane Foxington is the politically adept governor, the public face of virtue. Their interactions, like when Diane publicly dismisses Wolf and his crew as amateurs, are charged with rivalry.
So, can we just forget
Who is she to judge us?
This is a great opening move because it's the exact kind of criticism only a professional could make. Wolf is instantly hooked. He's furious, but you can see he's intrigued by the one person who isn't scared of or impressed by him. It's an instant spark of rivalry mixed with high-level respect. The chemistry deepens when they first meet at the big gala. Every line of dialogue doubles as a test. Wolf plays the part of the suave stranger trying to outsmart her, while Diane stands grounded, dissecting him without effort. She sees the art in what looks like trash, revealing a theme that becomes central to Wolf's arc: redemption through perspective. The moment she turns the sculpture to reveal the swan, it's the emotional blueprint of their dynamic. She challenges him to look again, to see beauty where others see waste. This is tonal contrast done right. The cynic meets the idealist, and instead of canceling each other out, their opposing views sharpen the other. The real tipping point, the moment of recognition, happens after the gang is caught. Wolf, in a last-ditch effort to get Professor Marmalade to take them on, gives a big fake speech about how they are just second-rate criminals who need a chance to blossom. He's laying it on thick, and Diane is trading sassy insults with him the whole time, confirming they are still on the same page. But when Marmalade gets the governor to agree to the experiment, Wolf looks her right in the eye and subtly references their earlier private conversation.
Even trash can be recycled into something beautiful.
This confirms that their intimate conversation mattered, so Diane agrees to the experiment, cementing her role as the only person who truly believes Wolf has a shot at being good. However, Diane is furious and tries to end the experiment after the failed guinea pig rescue. Wolf, desperate, tries to charm her, but she instantly sees through it, pushing him away and accusing him of being gutless for not taking his chance seriously. But then he tells her that she wouldn't understand what it's like to try to change when everyone stereotypes you. This is where the writer perfectly foreshadows the eventual twist, because Diane then pulls out the ring Wolf thought he had stolen from her.
Is that so?
This single action is the writer telling the audience that there's more to Diane than we know. In any case, he validates Wolf's feelings of being stuck and encourages him to write his own story. Their chemistry is instantly explained. Diane is the living, breathing proof that Wolf can change, and she recognizes his struggle because it was her own. When she rescues him from prison, we finally understand the chemistry of recognition that the film has been trying to show us. She is the legendary Crimson Paw, a reformed criminal who knows all the same tricks.
Diane?
The bad guys are shocked, but this twist makes perfect sense, and it explains why Wolf and Diane had chemistry all along. It was a dynamic built on shared mastery and shared redemption. She needed to see Wolf take that first step toward change, and he needed her secret past to validate his future. Their bond transforms from a simple crush into an unbreakable partnership, proving that the deepest connections are often found when two people recognize their own destiny reflected in the eyes of their rival. The culmination of this chemistry is the final, selfless change that validates their bond. Wolf decides to fully commit to his redemption by surrendering to the authorities, and Diane supports this path because it's the only way to earn genuine change. Their bond is proof that when two characters find the chemistry of recognition, the spark of rivalry transforms into an alliance rooted in a secret past only they understand. But aside from knowing how to write good chemistry, the bad guys also showed recently that they also know how to write a good sequel. This is almost perfect timing because we just made a video that talks exactly how not to kill a franchise. Go check it out here.